Hello guys, I'm back to another episode of Abay on Cars, episode 8. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about some of the news on the automotive world as usual. And today, we got Ford F-150 Lightning electric truck begins pre-production in Michigan. So, it's pre-production, but if I understand this correctly, it means that Ford is starting the production of their F-150 Lightning. So those who ordered an F-150 Lightning, looks like you can get your hands on it quite soon, because the Tesla Cybertruck that hasn't started production yet. I think I haven't heard anything from Tesla that they started the production the Cybertruck, and it's like this with Tesla. I'm pretty sure the Cybertruck is gonna be coming. It's just that the Tesla kind of like shows us, teases us these cars like the Roadster and the Cybertruck, and they estimate when they're gonna start production and when the deliveries start, but they don't act. Sometimes their claims are not true, and sometimes these cars might not make to production. So Ford's kind of having a lead here with their F-150 Lightning. They're already starting pre-production, and both of these trucks, the Cybertruck and the F-150, start at $40,000. So it's kind of a choice what you really like. Obviously, when you opt them out, prices differ. But if I would have the choice, usually I don't really like trucks, but if I would have the choice between the F-150 and the Tesla, I would pick the F-150. And the reason is Tesla, it just doesn't look that good in my opinion. I know, you know, it's just the Cybertruck has the looks that whether you like it or you don't. I don't like the looks of the Cybertruck at all. It's not something that I want to drive in every day. Everybody's gonna be staring at you. Everybody's gonna be looking at you like, oh, it's a Cybertruck. It's gonna be very attractive to people. Whereas the F-150 looks like an F-150. It's the number one selling car in USA. So even though the new F-150 Lightning has some styling changes to the normal F-150, it's still a truck. It looks like a truck. The Cybertruck looks like a car rendered with a car rendered in Blender with an Intel Core i3 processor. I don't know, or looks like something designed from 1980s. With the Back to the Future and stuff, sci-fi. The F-150 looks something like I wouldn't mind driving in every day. The Cybertruck's gonna pull off a lot of attention. Everybody's gonna be looking at you. And even though the Tesla might have the edge on the range and software, I don't really care about that. A truck is supposed to be a work truck. It should do work. The F-150 does a great job at that. That's why it's the number one selling truck in America. It can charge your house for 3 days. It has a power socket at the back. You can plug in a power tool like a chainsaw and cut some plywood if you need to. You can store tools at the back, but you can in the Tesla. And the Tesla showed off that it can store a quad bike at the back of the bed of the Cybertruck. The F-150 also, it's a popular F-150 feature. You can fold the center console, or the center armrest to be precise, and flat, and use it as a workspace, as a table. You can have lunch on it, put food on it, or you can pull out your laptop, put a laptop on it, do work while you're waiting for your kids to finish school and get in your car, something like that. The Cybertruck doesn't have that. The F-150, Ford's been making these things for a long time, since the 1960s, I believe. So they know how to make a pickup truck. So if I would have the choice, F-150 Lightning or Cybertruck, I would pick the F-150 because it just looks better in my opinion, and it makes more sense. But yeah, for those people who bought the F-150 Lightning, looks like you can get your hands on one pretty soon. Shout out to Ford for starting pre-production on the F-150 Lightning. Next up, Ford Fiesta ST facelift or Ford Fiesta facelift includes electrification and new looks for the Fiesta. And the changes I can see for audio listeners, it has a bit of different shape to the lights. They look more oval. It has a new grille, which is bigger, more aggressive, more of an Audi style looking. No, not Audi. What does this? It reminds me of. I don't know. Audi. I guess has a bigger grille. The front bumpers look more aggressive. What it really reminds me of is of the Porsche Macan facelift. If you've seen the 2021 Porsche Macan facelift, this kind of reminds me of it. I don't know. To me, it does. I'm looking at the ST here, and does it look better than the pre-facelift? I don't know. But it doesn't look bad. The changes to the ST model. There's an increase in torque, but no increase in power. Still got the same 197 horses, but 214 pounds-feet of torque has been increased to 236, which Ford claims will do 0 to 100 in 6.5 seconds. I mean, yeah, well, I have never been a fan of the Ford Fiesta. I don't know, I prefer the Focus, especially the new Focus looks really good, but the Fiesta, I wasn't a fan of the looks of the Fiesta. I'll maybe get something like a Volkswagen Polo GTI. But that's the new Fiesta. Next up, Nissan GTR T-Spec comes with a Godzilla green interior. Godzilla green. Something I noticed, Nissan GTR has always been called the Godzilla. I mean, certainly it does look kind of like one. But the changes for the T-Spec include golden accent on the wheels, golden engine cover, carbon fiber spoiler, golden kick plates, and the Godzilla green interior. And for audio listeners, it's actually quite like the Godzilla green interior. Now, I'm trying to pick the color. What does it remind me of? What sort of green is it? It's the type of green that you would see. I'm just trying to think. If you've seen Apple's iPhone leather case green, that's the sort of green. No, it's a bit more bluish greenish color. Can't really find anything to, find the perspective of what green it is, but it's like this dark bluish, darkish green. Does it look like Godzilla? I would say yes. Other changes I see is carbon fiber, and it looks like real carbon fiber. Alcantara headlighting, that's nice. But the GTR, it's just a car on its own. It's just there's GTR people, GTR fans. I am not a GTR guy. I have never been a fan of the GTR. I think the GTR needs an update now. It's an old car. I think the GTR came out, the R35 in 2007 or 8. I'm gonna stick with 2008. 13 years have passed and this thing hasn't been updated yet. Maybe there'll be small facelift, but it hasn't been updated. No new major design updates. For example, it still has an analog gauge cluster. The screen just looks so dated. Modern cars have touch screens now with, I don't know. This car, I don't know if it has a touchscreen on, but I reckon it doesn't. It has an old school, old style, gear lever where you have to shift to drive. You have to shift to down, left, Whereas modern cars have electronic ones, which you like to go to drive, you just shift down. To go to reverse, you just shift up. To go to park, you just press a button. This doesn't have that. Other than that, I mean, I understand it's Japanese cars. They don't really care. Japanese cars never have the most modern tech, and that's kind of surprising because Japanese cars before they were so advanced. I remember my family having a Lexus RX 350. That thing was from 2007 and had a touchscreen. German cars didn't have a touchscreen at the time, and the Lexus was just ahead of its time. What happened to the Japanese cars now? They're backing off. They're behind the Germans. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, I don't know. From the other perspective, the reason why Japan is doing this, or Japanese manufacturers to be precise, is for reliability. Japanese cars are very reliable, and it's just been a style of Japanese cars. Um, we're kind of used to them having analog gauge clusters, old data screens, but at least it's going to be reliable. German cars, they have the latest tech every time, but that thing is going to get old fast. But I myself, honestly, I never understood this. I know that Japanese cars lovers, and they know this better than me. Still, this interior though looks sick. The dark blue green looks amazing. The carbon fiber, the Alcantara headlining. This is a really nice interior. And the T spec, I think it means Nissan GTR track spec. And it is a nice combination of the colors. Like this light green reminds me of the green you get Porsche offers you as a $100,000 paint job on their cars. It has golden wheels, and also what this reminds me of: green and gold, limited edition, German, big saloon. Does that catch you on to something? Yes, the BMW M5 CS. It's matte green, deep frozen green metallic, with brushed gold. Doesn't this just remind you, except this is a two-door coupe sports car, it's a carbon spoiler at the back. It looks like it. I mean, not really. It reminds me of it. Uh, but yeah, this car is cool, but not to my taste. Next up, Mercedes says chip shortage won't end in 2022. Does that mean earlier or later? Hopefully earlier, because of this pandemic, I've heard that a factory in Texas has been shut down because a tornado flew over it and kind of broke apart the factory, and you know issues, and the chip shortage had to be ended. And there are other factories, but they're being shut down because of the pandemic, and that kind of brings problems. The only brand that I know that has been prepared for this is Hyundai. They've been prepared for this situation. They have enough chips in their stock to survive, but other manufacturers are now suffering. And that's bad because cars are now getting more expensive because of this. And to buy a car just makes it harder whether you should buy one. The only car you can buy, I guess, is just a Hyundai, but anything else just makes cars not reasonable to buy nowadays. Maybe you should, wait until this chip shortage will end. So that's kind of problematic. Hopefully, when sooner than later, but this is not looking good. Yeah, this pandemic, COVID, just ruined a lot of things. Let's just hope for the best, I guess. And Hyundai, they fought it through. They knew this might come, and they were prepared. So I guess if you're looking for a car and you don't wanna, I mean, if I'll be buying a car right now, even if I don't drive, would I buy one even if its price has been increased? I don't know. It's kind of hard, but yeah, hopefully this chip shortage will end sooner than later, because it's some car manufacturers can even shut down because of that. Go out of business, go bankrupt. Yeah, crazy. Anyway, something crazy I didn't expect to see today though is BMW might be working on an M version of the X1. Can you imagine? Now I'm imagining this is a full M car, not an M135i or I mean X1 M35i or X1 M40i. This is a full M car. I'm predicting this can have about 400 horsepower, and it's a GLA 45 rival. And the GLA 45 has 400 horsepower, so this will have around the same. And looking at these spy shots, it has quad tailpipes at the back. It has some aggressive discs. It has an aggressive roof spoiler. And I think this will have new looks compared to the X1. The X1 might get facelifted because the X1 is looking a bit age. It's aging a bit compared to the other models in the range. I've honestly not been really a fan of the X1. It just doesn't look that. It doesn't have character in its looks. My favorite X model of the X range is probably the X5. The X3, it also lacks character. The X5 has been like the boss of the X range. You know, it's the BMW's first SUV, and I think it's the best looking. But I can't wait to see the new X1 M because I have high hopes for this car. Hopefully, it'll look awesome. Um, Next up, Pulsestar Precept previous production version. Polestar previous production version of the Precept EV sedan. And looking at these shot pictures, this looks from the side. This looks like a Tesla Model S. The C pillar special just looks like a Model S. I think I remember I saw the Precept concept. It's okay. I mean, I'm not a fan of these cars that have like a living room and you have couches at the back, a full bench couch and no steering, a planted in the nostalgia. I'm not a fan of this. Now, but what I like how they did is they gave you an option to have a steering wheel or not. You know, if you don't want to have a steering, wheel, it just folds away. Especially if there's sky sphere and ground spheres, what I'm talking about. It folds away when you don't need it, and when you want to drive, it folds out, and you can take control. But the problem with that is, it if in case you need to take a sharp maneuver, in case in a dangerous situation, that could be really dangerous. I think what Audi should have done is keep the steering wheel on, but I guess they're trusting their technology that it's going to be really, really safe, their autonomous driving, and avoid these like dangerous situations. I don't remember what Polestar have. I think they had their steering wheels on, which is good for safety. But I'm not a fan of the Precept. I've seen the concept images. I've seen the interior. I'm not a fan. I don't really like the way it looks. It's good looking, but again, not to my taste. But yeah, so the Precept, there's something they have been talking about a lot, like showing off. 2 years, I think this concept has been running, is now finally making it to production. We'll see how the real life car looks, but so far, I'm not a fan. Anyways, last one for today, the BMW M4 CSL spy testing and the M3 CS. And what could be different? Well, the front looks, for the listeners, is the same looking at those spy shots. The big grille is not going anywhere, unfortunately. And whether you like it or not, to be honest, myself, I'm not really a fan of this big grille. Now, when I read the news on the M3 CS spy testing, the changes coming is it could also have different color lights like the M5 CS. Now, what can we expect from the M4 CSL? Well, we can expect that it will be the top of the range track focused M4 or best M4 BMW ever built. And the CSL is fitted with additional aerodynamic parts that set it apart from the normal M4, and it is ideally targeting the 911 GT3, at least in terms of performance. We can be mentioned has put the M4 on a diet. The M4 weighs 1,800 plus kilograms. Instead of giving it a lot more power, mind you, the standard M5 and 3 horsepower 3-liter engine will certainly be upgraded as well. You know, the M5 CS It has 35 horsepower, 10 horsepower more than the M5 comp. I think the M5 4 CSL might have 520 horsepower, something like that. But the M4 CSL will have less weight than the normal M4. And looking at the camouflage photos, I can see that it has more aggressive wheels. It has a front splitter. It has a more aggressive wing at the back, and probably have an even aggressive interior. That's all the changes I can see. And it looks like it's bigger, more aggressive diffuser, and bigger exhaust pipes. That's pretty much it. Now, what's interesting to me though is when BMW came out with the M3 and M4 F80 or the previous generations of the M3 and M4, that thing came out in 2013. But then BMW made the CS versions of it 4 years later, or 5 years later to be precise, in 2018. For some reason, BMW in this generation is making the CSL version of the M4 earlier, because the M4 came out 1 year ago, and it's 1 year has passed and they're already making the M4 CSL version coming out in 2022, second quarter of 2022. That's kind of early. And the reason could be is because I think BMW is not gonna run this generation, what is it called? The G80? This generation I don't think is gonna be here for long. Because of hybrid and electrification coming, I think this M4 and M3 generation are gonna be here for about maybe 2-3 more years, and then the M3 and M4 are gonna go electric or hybrid. That's why BMW is bringing the M4 CSL and the M3 CS earlier than before. Now, if you ask me if I would pick this M3 CS and M4 CS, I'll pick neither. I'll pick the M5 CS. The M5 CS is right now, I think, the best BMW, or the best looking M car ever. Especially the deep frozen green metallic with the brushed gold just looks so good. And it's a 4-door saloon. It has practicality. It's maybe the best daily driver. Now, I know it's more expensive than the M3 CS. That'll be its alternative. But I just like the M5 CS look better. It just looks better, let's be honest. I mean, I'm not a fan of this grille, so I'll pick the M5 CS, whether it's more expensive. But let me know in the comments, guys, what do you think of the M4 CSL, and are you excited for it, yes or no? But yeah, guys, that's been the episode for today. Let me know in the comments what do you think of the things, and thanks for listening, and I'll see you again in the next video.